The Syrian regime say they will guarantee the safe passage of opposition fighters if they leave besieged eastern Aleppo. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights say regime forces have further advanced towards the city's rebel-held areas, capturing a hospital and part of an industrial zone. The regime and its allies have stepped up their week-long offensive with airstrikes reinforced by ground troops. Well, Ediz Tiyansan is in Gaziantep in Turkey on the Syrian border. Good morning to you, Ediz. So what's the toll from the airstrikes by the regime and their allies overnight?
Well, Kamali, it seems the airstrikes by the Syrian regime have intensified, especially over the past 2 weeks. This is across the country, but there is a particular intensification in the eastern part of Aleppo. Just yesterday alone, last night, we have seen as at least 8 people were reported killed in several airstrikes over many neighborhoods in the eastern part of Aleppo. But that's just in Aleppo alone, because we're also hearing that at least 10 more people were reportedly killed just outside the capital Damascus in its provincial areas. So it is really happening over many areas where the regime forces are battling the opposition groups, but particularly there is an offensive, a regime offensive in the eastern part of Aleppo. Remember, since a ceasefire agreement broke apart some 2 weeks ago, the regime intensified, launched a new offensive rather, to retake eastern Aleppo, and that's why the airstrikes have been increasing, and along with it obviously the death toll as well. And also, according to a recent report we have obtained from the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, we're now seeing that the number of death toll for the month of September over the past 1 month has reached 3,700, and that is very significant compared to the previous months. And within that number, we know that at least 1,200 are civilians, and most of them were killed by these airstrikes by the Syrian regime.
And Ediz, what more can you tell us about this offer by the regime to give safe passage to these opposition fighters? Is anyone going to take them up on that? This has been offered before, hasn't it?
Well, of course, and remember that the eastern part of Aleppo is still under the siege of the Syrian regime. It has been so for more than a month, and that's why the humanitarian situation is getting worse, because they're running out of resources, even basic necessities like food. But to add on top of that, we have also seen an increase on airstrikes on not only residential areas, but on sensitive areas like hospitals. At least 4 hospitals were targeted just in the past few days, and we understand that out of the a total of 8 functioning hospitals in eastern Aleppo, now 4 of them were forced to shut down at a time when they actually need more medical facilities and more medical help. And that's why the situation is getting really worse on the ground, and it seems the Syrian regime is forcing these people to give up and leave this city. And even though they've recently, just as of yesterday, as of Sunday, they've made this offer. They said, we will provide a safe passage for anyone who's willing to vacate the city, and we will reach humanitarian aid. But it seems the confidence is not there. The faith in Syrian regime is almost non-existent. This was an offer that was made in the past, and some families in the past took up this offer, and some of them, even though it's a minority, they had left the city in the past. But it seems right now they don't have this confidence. They don't actually believe, they don't trust that there will be really a safe passage. And that's why it seems most of the people still prefer, including the rebel fighters obviously, they are still staying in eastern Aleppo. At this point, there are no reported cases of leaving the city, the eastern part of Aleppo, as of yet.
Okay, Ediz for now in Gaziantep, thank you.